jumped the gun.
Jeez. Is this broadcast live?
Good, 6:30, everyone has 6:30? Call to order, special meeting of the Rocky Hill Board of Education, Town Council Chamber, September 7th, 6:30 PM. We still do the Pledge of Allegiance, correct? If we could, everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first item on today's agenda, the special meeting, is the appointment of new member to fill a vacancy on the Board of Education. I'll give a little brief intro and then go from there. So the pursuant to Town Charter, the Republican Town Committee was contacted after the resignation of Mr. Dillon to fill, for recommendations to fill the remainder of his current term, which is the next 2 months. The RTC recommended Brian Clemens, and in accordance with the charter, we are here tonight to address appointing Mr. Clemens to the Board of Education. A little background on Mr. Clemens. He's lived in Rocky Hill since 1992. He recently retired from the State of Connecticut Judicial Branch after serving 26 years as a judicial marshal, retiring as the Deputy Chief Judicial Marshal for the Hartford Judicial District. Aside from a career of service to the State of Connecticut, the Judicial Department, Mr. Clemens is volunteering or has volunteered in the community in the following ways. He's currently serving on the Open Space Land Acquisition and Farmland Preservation Subcommittee for the town of Rocky Hill, and that's since 2020. He's a current member of the Rocky Hill Little League Board of Directors and a softball coach. That's since 2016. He's a current member of the Rocky Hill Little Athletic Hall of Fame Committee. That's since 2019, excuse me. He's a past member of the Board of Directors for Central Connecticut Youth Hockey, CCYHA. Did that for 15 years from 1995 to 2010. He's a former head coach, the Rocky Hill varsity ice hockey coach, 2003 to 2011, and a past member of the Rocky Hill Volunteer Fire Department from 1992 to 1998. He currently has a daughter in district, is running for Board of Ed in the belief that our youth and their education is the cornerstone of the future of our community and our country. With that, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Brian Clemens to the Board of Education.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by DeLippe. Any discussion?
Are there more? No.
Maria?
I would like to make a motion to nominate Jay Taraba to fill a vacancy for Board of Ed.
I don't think that's an appropriate motion because we have to follow the charter. The charter requires that they be recommended by the Republican Town Committee.
In this case.
In this case, in the instance of filling a vacancy.
Right. I can speak to that if that's okay with the chair.
Sure.
Since I've been superintendent, there were two midterm resignations. The first was Ron Robbins, who was a Democrat. The town committee recommended James Moriarty to the board on May 17th of 2013. Former member Renee Skip-Rivard moved to appoint Mr. Moriarty, who was seconded by Mr. Frank Morse. He was appointed on a unanimous vote. Second time this happened since I've been here is former Democratic board member Judy Murphy resigned from the board midterm. October 18th of 2018, the Democratic Town Committee recommended Mr. Barry Goldberg. Jen Allison made a motion to appoint him, seconded by former member Kim Kehoe, and that passed unanimously as well. So clearly the tradition has been to honor the council and the recommendation of the party losing the seat. So in my opinion, The board has the authority to appoint someone as long as they're from the same political party, but the clear history and past practice has been honoring the recommendation of the town committee, as we see twice with 2 Democratic recommendations in the past.
Ms. Morphia?
From what we understand from the town charter, we could nominate someone, however, they'd have to be on the Republican Party because the vacancy is Republican. And we did nominate someone from the ticket, so.
Understood, but my reading of the charter, section 208, says that, it says the Board of Education shall request recommendations and shall select a person from the same political party. If said former incumbent. Bear with me one second.
Doesn't say who.
All it says is it has to be Republican.
And he is a Republican, right?
He is,
On
he
your
absolutely
ticket,
is. He is, as you're all aware, I mean,
Yeah.
he is on the ticket for the November election as a candidate. So he absolutely is a member of the Republican Party. I don't know, well, I guess I have a motion.
Right. So you call it to a vote? in accordance with
second
Robert's
that.
Although,
Need to
I don't think,
second.
although I don't think we ever resolved the motion that was up for discussion.
Yeah.
So I think we have to table that motion, because there's a motion currently pending, first and seconded, by first made by Amber, Ms. Tucker, and then seconded by Mr. Desai. So I believe we need to, right now, we're in discussion of that motion, so I don't think we can make another motion with that motion being pending. So is there any further discussion as to appointing Mr. Clemens to the Board of Education? Ms. Manella, sorry.
I would like to make the statement on behalf of the Democratic Board of Education.
Sure.
So we appreciate the leadership of previous Board of Ed chairs, Mr. Frank Morse and Mr. Brian Dillon. Together, both sides of the Board of Education have passed unified decisions that have supported our town, our students, and our schools. Dr. Zito and his administrative team, including Dr. Listro, have been very clear in the curriculum standards that are set for our district. And we, as a unified Board of Education, have supported our educators as well as a diverse inclusion and rigorous curriculum. We value our Republican team members for always showing respect and integrity for the work that lies ahead. We hope they will consider our nomination to fill the vacancy of Brian Dillon.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Manella. I don't know that that was necessarily on point as far as discussing Mr. Clemens, the motion to appoint Mr. Clemens, but
It was just a statement before our vote.
fair enough.
We're not
Any
up to vote
discussion? We're not at vote yet, so I just, is there
Okay.
any discussion on the motion to appoint Mr. Clemens to the Board of Education? Any discussion? All right, with that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Excuse me.
Yes.
I believe you have to open it to more nominations, right? And then we have to second before you can close the nominations and vote.
There's a motion first.
I think the
you have to
motion's
vote on
still
the
Yeah, but
motion.
he has to close nominations before we can vote.
I don't think there is,
It's true.
this is an appointment, though. It's not a nomination, I don't believe.
I'll go get the Roberts Rules book if you want,
Yeah.
to be technically accurate.
Maybe we take a
Let's
recess?
take a recess, I'll get the book for you.
If I could entertain a motion?
A motion for recess.
5-minute, motion for 5-minute recess?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Manella. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Until the nominations are closed in Roberts.
I don't know that there are nominations.
What is the question we're trying to solve?
Do we have to ask for more nominations before we vote on the pending motion?
The nomination's already been made.
Yes. But
Agreed.
you need to ask 3 times.
The question
Do you
is,
have any other nominations? Do you have any other nominations?
Do you have any other?
I don't know if that
nominations?
applies in this
That's
situation of
3
filling a
times.
vacancy, though.
I think it always applies.
Yeah,
It always-
Which
Just
one?
like when
Oh.
you did the
yeah.
appointment of the officers, you did
I would like to know if there's any authority as to where the idea of nominations is coming. What the charter calls for is recommendations from the political party, and in the same sentence, and that party shall select somebody from the same political party. I do not see any language in the charter that allows for a nomination on the floor in this particular situation as far as a vacancy. The language, in my opinion, is clear that we are to take the recommendations, and that the recommendations made by the party, they have to select somebody from the same political party. So I don't think there's any authority for a nomination on the floor. And with that said, I believe we still have a pending motion and a second. Since we have taken a recess, I will reopen discussion on that motion. To refresh everybody's memory, the motion was to appoint Brian Clemens to the Board of Education for the vacancy left by Brian Dillon, which is the next 2 months, and that was seconded by Mr. Desai. All right, any discussion on the motion?
So you're saying that we're not allowed to
Nominate.
nominate?
This is not a situation that calls for nomination.
We read the charter differently and actually had attorney take a look at it to make sure. We were told that it has to be from your party.
Correct.
Republican Party.
Our political party needs to pick
Right.
somebody from our political party.
No, it didn't say your party has to pick your party. It says there was a recommendation, but it doesn't say we're not allowed to recommend
We
somebody.
can certainly reschedule this meeting, I suppose.
Well, I think you
But
have
I
a
think we-
question, you can call the question, the board votes majority rule in accordance with, because once that question is framed and discussion ends, you should deal with that question. If the board determines that the majority of the board doesn't vote for this person, I think that would be then you would go back to the Republican Town Committee again and request
Agreed.
another recommendation.
Agreed, and that's how I read the charter. Nowhere in the charter does it allow for nominations made on the floor, nor does it, it calls for recommendations from the political party of the vacancy. So I don't know where you're getting that authority. I can read the charter into the record if it pleases everybody here. Section 208 of the town charter, vacancies in elective office. Vacancies in elective offices except in the Board of Education from whatever cause arising shall be filled by the council for the period until the next regular town election. Vacancies in the Board of Education shall be filled by the Board of Education for the period until the next regular town election. In filling any vacancy, the council and the Board of Education shall request recommendations from the respective political party and shall select a person of the same political party as that of the former incumbent pursuant to Section 209 of this charter. That is, it does go on to say if said former incumbent was elected as an independent, which is not the circumstance here, so I'm not going to read that part into the record. Section 209 indicates the qualifications for someone to be on the board, and those qualifications are that nominee of elective office needs to be a resident and an elector of the town, and if any elected officer at any time shall cease to be a resident of the town, the officer shall at that time, and because of that act, be deemed to have vacated the office. So, nowhere in the town charter dealing specifically with vacancies do I see any authority for nomination of anyone from the board. In fact, I see the word shall and the word and, which, in my opinion, indicates that the respective political party requests and recommendations from the respective political party and shall select a person of the same. So there's an and, not an and or. And I think that my interpretation of that language is that it needs to be a recommendation from the political party, as has been the case in former vacancies for at least the two that we were able to find minutes for in the past. So again, I don't see any authority to allow for a nomination on the floor. I think the process is very clear when dealing specifically with vacancies in elective office. This Section 208 is designed specifically for that situation.
It doesn't say we can't nominate, and from what I was understanding, from what was, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but from what I understood is that it's not clear and written out in our town charter, then it goes to state rules.
What I'm asking, or what I'm stating is that there's no authority. So we're acting based on the authority of the town charter.
So you requested if I may, you requested a recommendation.
So,
Board of Ed shall request recommendations from the party. You did that.
They gave the
They
recommendation.
gave you one name, they didn't give you multiple names.
okay. So you're not recommending Jay, then?
He hasn't been recommended according to the process set forth in the town charter.
One name was put
Section
forward.
208, one name went through the process, and that process is what we're following.
Which was
So
the same process with
it's not that,
Mr. Goldberg.
correct,
And with Mr. Moriarty.
Correct.
Same
Recommendation
and
is
to address Ms. Morphea's concern, it's not that we're saying, what I'm saying is that the charter in this situation of the town charter just simply does not allow nominations from the floor.
I-
The process is very clear. It comes from the political party, and then it's acted upon. What the charter is saying is that the person
not.
selected
Yeah.
by the party needs to be a member of that party.
Recommendation is different than a nomination, but,
Okay.
I mean, it was explained to us differently, but if that's what we want to go with, and then
What,
figure it out later.
in different areas of the town charter and in different circumstances with regard to board business, I think nominations are made and there are different rules in those situations. I'm looking specifically at the part of the town charter that indicates dealing with this specific situation, filling a vacancy, which for obvious reasons, I think has these specific rules in it, because the political party of the person who has resigned or has created the vacancy, has moved out of town, has disappeared, whatever. They won that seat in the election, and so the voice of the people have spoken as to that seat. This is the process that is stated in the charter to then refill that seat.
Right, which is why we recommended a
A Republican.
nominated, I should say, not recommended, nominated. There's two
Doesn't
different.
ask
two
about
different-
anyone
But there's
being
no-
nominated.
But the point is that the charter doesn't call for nominations.
There's no nomination process.
There's no nomination process in this circumstance.
Robert's Rules has a nomination process.
Yes, for when it
I mean,
calls
it's
for it, but
different,
that's not, I think that's misguided. Under what I don't
So when you
understand.
nominate, for example.
Generally, if you are doing a
nomination.
nomination, yeah, if you're doing a nomination, this is filling a vacancy, which
It's-
calls for
it's
specific rules on a
rather
seat
vague.
won by a political party.
Right, and that's what we were told, if it's vague, that's when it goes to state rules. But, I mean, if you don't want to.
It's not vague, it just doesn't have the language that you want in it.
It doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
It states specifically the process that's to be followed.
Okay.
In the charter, Steve, you want to read it again and see if it
I
says
have a copy
nomination
of it.
somewhere?
We've read
I have a
it, we've read
copy of
it, and then we've had state.
I mean, I
For
would,
the
I
record,
listen,
he
I will
should.
review any other portion, I'll reread it again. I mean, I'll read any portion that applies to vacancies where it says something about nominees, but that, it doesn't. It says recommendations from a political party, and then an action, and then, that's the process. Just as it's been in the circumstance in the past, regardless of political party.
Let's just move on.
I'll reread section 208 again, which covers vacancies in elective office. This time I'll read the entire thing, just so that,
Good, we can move on.
no, I'm going to read it for the record. Thank you, though.
You did it right.
Section 208, vacancies in elective office. Vacancies in elective offices, except in the Board of Education, from whatever cause arising, shall be filled by the town council for the period until the next regular town election. Vacancies in the Board of Education shall be filled by the Board of Education for the period until the next regular town election. In filling any vacancy, the council and the Board of Education shall request recommendations from the respective political party and shall select a person of the same political party as that of the former incumbent pursuant to Section 209 of this charter. If said former incumbent was elected as an independent candidate, the successor shall be a member of the political party in which said former incumbent was enrolled, or in the case the former incumbent was not enrolled in any political party, the vacancy shall be filled by an elector not enrolled in a political party. Any person appointed to fill a vacancy shall serve the remaining term of the former incumbent and until the successor has been elected. I think that this section is very clear, and I'm going to point to the specific language that I think prevents what you're attempting to do right now. It says, in filling any vacancy, the Board of Education shall request recommendations from the respective political party and shall select a person of the same political party. That's all in one sentence connected with an and. The recommendation, so words have meaning, and the recommendation from the political party and shall select a person from their political party. Okay, so if another person had been nominated, or another person had been recommended by, in this case, the Republican Town Committee, then anyone here would be free to make a motion to appoint them, I believe.
Right, meaning that,
Under this circumstance, the only person, so it doesn't say they can only send one. If they had sent multiple, then we would all have the freedom, everyone here would have the ability, everyone with voting power would have the ability to make, or not with voting power, but the ability to make a motion, would be able to make a motion to appoint that person. So it's not a nominating process. It's a process that is spelled out specifically in this charter, in this section of the charter for this specific situation. I don't think there's any ambiguity or vagueness in that aspect. It clearly is an and, connecting the recommendations of the political party and the person to be appointed is a member of that political party. With that being said, the only person who has been recommended by the in this situation, the Republican Town Committee, because Mr. Dillon was a Republican when he left his seat, was Mr. Clemens, who is before us now. A motion now has been made by Ms. Tucker to appoint Mr. Clemens in accordance with the town charter and the procedures therein to the Board of Education to fill the spot vacated by Mr. Dillon for the remainder of his term. And then, obviously, as the charter indicates, and as everyone here is aware, Mr. Clemens will be running in November as well. That motion was seconded by Mr. Desai. We've had some discussion on that motion, and it's been a little bit more lengthy than usual, so I will open it again for any further discussion. Any further discussion? All right, and with that, I will ask for a vote on the motion. All those in favor of appointing Mr. Brian Clemens to the Board of Education to fill the vacancy and complete the term of Brian Dillon, please, or what do you say?
you can do an A or an A, or you can do a roll call vote.
In this circumstance, I think we'll do a roll call vote. With respect, so turning to Mr. Gavin, with respect to the motion to appoint Brian Clemens to the Board of Education to fill the vacancy of Mr. Dillon and complete his term, how do you vote?
Yay.
Mr. Desai,
Yes, from me.
Ms. Tucker,
Yes.
I'm voting yes in favor of Brian Clemens being appointed to the Board of Education. Ms. Manella?
Abstain?
Ms. Manella is abstaining. Ms. Morphia?
Abstain?
Ms. Morphia is abstaining. Ms. Lafredo?
Abstain.
Ms. Lafredo is abstaining. Ms. Rolfe?
Abstain.
Ms. Rolfe is abstaining. So I have 4 yeas and 4 abstaining. With that, the motion carries 4-0, with 4 abstentions.
Okay. Let's move on.
All right. Next item on the agenda. Oh, we have to swear him in. Oh, excellent. So this is my first time. So do I just give them the floor?
Yeah, Ms. Maliba.
At this point, if Ms.
Sandra will leave it.
If Ms. Sandra Oliva, Town Clerk, can come up, and Mr. Clemens, if you could please come up to be sworn into the Board of Ed.
Raise your right hand. Do solemnly swear that you'll faithfully discharge according to law your duties as a member of the Board of Education to the best of your ability, so help you God. Congratulations.
All right. Turning to the next item on the agenda. Oh, yeah, let's Mr. Clemens, come up and take your seat. Welcome to the Board of Education.
Don't get used to it, I'll sit on the end.
Don't fight now.
Next item on the agenda is the chairman's report. Obviously, this is my first meeting as your chair, so I just wanted to do, even though it's a special meeting, I just wanted to do a chairman's report just to be thorough. So I'd like to begin my remarks tonight expressing my gratitude to my fellow members for selecting me as your chair. I can promise you that I will work diligently and thoughtfully to ensure that we let the best interests of our students and their families continue to guide our decision-making as a Board of Education. This board has accomplished a great deal, and I'm confident that we will continue to push forward in the effort to make Rocky Hill Public Schools and the quality of the education we provide to our students as strong as possible. To that end, I would like to highlight a few key areas where we have made significant progress in recent years. First, with the pandemic recovery and student achievement. As we now know, the coronavirus pandemic had a very detrimental effect on students learning across the country. In stark contrast with state and local officials throughout the country who kept their students out of school, the Rocky Hill Board of Education, with the full support of the Rocky Hill Town Council, voted to keep schools open for in-person learning, at least as an option, for the first full school year of the pandemic. Now, I can't take credit for that. I was not here during that process. I know a few of you were, and I just, as a parent, want to thank all of you who were involved in that decision. I think that from my own personal experience with my daughters, I do think that it really was the right decision, and I think time has shown that. So I just want to be clear, I didn't take part in that, but I think the board made the right decision, and I thank everyone who's involved in that decision. Connecticut State Department of Education recently released Pandemic Recovery Report tracking learning loss. Our district did extremely well. In fact, we outperformed all the schools in our DIRG, in District Reference Group, and we even outperformed all but 2 in District Reference Group B, which I think is quite impressive. Those levels of achievement have continued with the release of the 2023 standardized assessments. We placed second in DIRG B on SBAC. High school SAT results, we placed second in both evidence-based reading and writing, and first in mathematics. And we also placed third in the NGSS science tests. Additionally, we were able to, as a board, come to a consensus and recognize Diwali as a school holiday. Clearly, I think that this shows the board's collective interest in embracing the diversity of both their school population and the community as a whole. As far as facilities, everyone here on the board is pretty aware of the successes we've had in facilities. There was a full HVAC installation at GMS 2017. That was before my time, but my daughters are enjoying the fruits of that now. So I thank the board for that. Stevens School roofing project in 2020, softball field 2019, HVAC West Hill. Last year's school resource officer program, we were able to secure an additional full-time officer. I can update everyone on that. The position has been posted. They're going through the process of hiring an officer for that. That position is still being filled, I believe, with the same way it was last year, with overtime, or as a half.
With a 4-hour shift until the position is filled, we anticipate within the next month or so. They have to go through their posting process and their hiring procedures. They have contracts as well they have to hire. So right now, we're where we were in the spring with 2.5, but we'll be at 3 shortly.
Excellent. And And then obviously one of our biggest achievements, I think, of last year was the Dream Academy and the expansion of the Dream Academy. I'm sure we'll have an update on that at the next full board meeting. So I look forward to hearing about that. I think everybody's very excited about that expansion. And in closing, I just want to reiterate, obviously, appreciate the support of all the board members. I know that, we're all parts of political parties, and we're elected as part of the political process, but once we're elected on the board, I think that we really do a good job of making sure that what guides our decisions is what's best for the students, what's best for the district. I think that that's clear in the accomplishments that we've had, and, I'm committed to making sure that that's the way that we continue to do things. So I just want everybody to know that. With that, should we do the committee assignments, or? Yeah, so last part of the report is we'll do committee assignments, and my plan is to put Mr. Clemens in my place. There's 2 months left to this current term. So I'm going to put Mr. Clemens in my place for policy, and he will chair that committee. So that will be Brian Clemens as the chair, Jen Barron-Morphia, and Dilip Desai on that committee. Special education, I am going to, I'm actually going to put Amber, if you're okay taking another committee. I'm going to put you in my position, only because you've been involved up until this, and with the Dream Academy and all the steps that we're taking. I think it just makes more sense to have, if you're up for it, to have that continuation there. So make Amber will take my place on special education as the chairperson. That will be, and I'll put Mr. Clemens in place of Mr. Desai. So Mr. Clemens, you'll be on special education, but you won't take my place as chair. So it'll be Amber as chair, Ms. Tucker as chairperson, Mr. Clemens, and Ms. Lafredo on special education. For school safety, I'm going to make Mr. Gavin the chairperson on school safety, and then have Mr. Clemens take my place as a vacancy in the committee. So that will be, chairperson will be Sean Gavin, Jen Barron-Morphia will be on the committee, Brian Clemens will be on the committee, and Ms. Lafredo will be on the committee. Actually, there's 2 more that I am on. That is facilities. I'm going to put Mr. Clemens in my position on that as a member of the committee. And that will be Sean Gavin as the chairperson, Nancy Rolfe, and Mr. Clemens on that committee. And the last one is curriculum. I will have Mr. Clemens take my place on that committee. And so that committee will be chaired by Ms. Tucker, and the other 2 members on that committee will be Ms. Lafredo and Mr. Clemens. I believe that covers all of the positions that I was in, and then obviously as chairperson, I'll be ex officio for all the committees, so I'll be participating in all of them. With that, I will, is there anything that you'd like to add before? No. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Gavin, motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second? Sorry. Seconded by Ms. Rolfe. Meeting adjourned at 7:10.